I am a longtime Vim user, and I have made many videos on this channel over the course of the last 3 years about Vim and why it's a superior experience to every other text editor on the planet. And for the most part, I'll stand by that. I think that Vim movements are probably the best way to move around text, period.
Completely agree. Great. This is absolutely 100% correct.
I don't think that there's a better way out there. It's just, I think that's fact. And while I know that there are people who disagree with me,
a bunch of Helix users right now seething and coping so hard. You see the thing about Helix is it's written in Rust and it has an LSP already. Yeah, it's great. Trust us. No, don't care. Don't care, Helix. Helix D's nuts, okay?
People are obviously wrong. Vim movements are awesome, and they should be in every single application ever. Anything that has to do with text or moving the screen up and down, whatever, should have Vim movements. But recently, I've been doing something weird. Now, for the last 3 years, you've been hearing me say that I'm not a developer. And I'm not a developer. I don't ever have plans to be an actual developer. I'm not going to ever get paid for development work. And I think that that's kind of the threshold you need in order to actually be considered a developer. But
something that's always confused. This is not the first person I've ever met that's really into Linux, but doesn't necessarily want to be a developer. I'm always a little bit curious about that, right? I've always been really curious about how does that happen.
I have been learning Python for a few months now, and I've been getting back into HTML and CSS. I've been learning some JavaScript.
Bless his soul.
Script for some projects that I've been working on for my personal projects and stuff. So I've been coding quite a bit lately, I should say. And I've been using Vim somewhat to do that.
Okay.
The more that I use Vim to code, the less I like it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Matt, you're
okay. I'm feeling a little emotional. I'm feeling a little emotional right now, okay?
The more that I use Vim to code, the less I like it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Matt, you're a Vim fanboy. How can you possibly say that Vim, which is primarily a coding tool, is not great for coding? Well, first off,
I don't think you guys are letting him cook. Okay, sometimes we let bro cook. Sometimes the kitchen burns down, but sometimes you get a filet mignon, okay? Why is he saying this? Just let him cook.
I'm not going to say that it's not great for coding. I'm sure that people who are more experienced with the tools that enable them to be good at coding are probably much more adept at using Vim to doing that purpose. For me, I'm a noob at all things, but specifically in this, I'm very much a noob, and the tools that I've discovered to make Vim good at coding and development work and stuff like that don't feel very good to me. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not good, it just means that they don't really, I haven't been able to adapt to the workflow that those tools are requiring of me. I've tried many different tools, so it's not just one or two. I've tried many different code completion things. I've tried different plugins that allow for language management and stuff like that. Obviously, you can tell from the lack of correct terminology there that I'm still very much a noob. So, I've done, obviously...
I think it's really good, though, to hear out a new person talk about this, just because it's really interesting to hear their perspective, because I've been using Vim or Vim Motions for over a decade. So it's like it's hard for me to remember what it's like during the beginning of things. You know what I mean? It's very simple to just go, oh, it's easy. But it's like I've also spent 33% of my life using Vim/Vim Motions. You know what I mean? You get kind of abstracted from things.
Quite a bit of research. I've tried to find the best tools and the best plugins and stuff to enable Vim to be a good tool for my development work. And it just hasn't kind of gotten there yet. Now, I had thought that I could get past this problem by abandoning my configuration file of NeoVim and adapt.
Let's go, NeoVim. Let's go. Let's go, NeoVim. Let's go. Let's go, NeoVim.
Welcome to Costco.
I forgot to turn off the alerts. Drinking game continues. One of the rules, does he mention HTMX and Go, or forgets to turn on alerts, or says React sucks? That's the three rules to the Prime drinking game.
Somebody else's to my workflow. So, for example, I used NVChad for quite a while.
Okay.
And that is a very well configured NVim config that is meant to kind of transform it into an IDE. And it's a very good one. It has all the features that you want, and probably more features that you don't even know that you need, and more that you probably don't need. It has a ton of features, a ton of plugins already baked in, and the key bindings and all that stuff are sane, and it works really well, and it looks nice, and it feels nice, and all this stuff. But I couldn't get into it all that much. Part of it is that I don't know a lot of Lua, and that is a Lua config. Now, I've been learning some Lua as I've been trying to...
By the way, Lua is part of this cult of simple that I've kind of been pretty excited about for the last while, meaning that Lua is also an incredibly simple language. And I feel like I've slept on Lua too much, and I should probably like it more, but there's always one thing that gets me with Lua. There's one thing. Index 1. Index 1, yep, Index 1. Honestly, if it wasn't Index 1, I genuinely think the language would be better. Just straight up. We all use Lua DSL. Yeah, dude, Lua is great. Lua is, let's see, we use Lua as a configuration DSL for all of our services, whole platform. I think it's smart because Lua is super simple, easy to embed, and it's just like it's a complex enough language to do everything you need. Get Index 1! It's just like it does everything you need. And so I like it. And having a language that's not complex means that you're just going to avoid writing complex programs because they're virtually too hard to really do, right? Like it's just super. It's just like you just tend to write simpler things. You tend to think simpler. You tend to write simpler. I actually really like Lua more and more that I've used it. And I don't mean that just because I like Brazilians, which I do. There's a Brazilian of you, and I like all of you. But Lua's great.
Dabbling in making NeoVim and Vim better, or in this case NeoVim, I should say. I've been learning some Vim or some Lua, but I'm still not there yet. I don't really care for that language, so I have a mental block there. So NVChad, I used it for a while, and I just customized it as much as I could on my...
Did someone just say VB is index 1 or 0? How do you make a decision that's worse than index 1? How do you make a decision worse than index 1? You make 0 an option as well. This is not okay. This is truly not okay.
And it was okay, but it still didn't feel right. So I tried LunarVim, which is another IDE configuration file for NeoVim. It's kind of its own fork at this point, but it's...
Chris Hatmachine's very, very talented. I really like what he's done. I think he has a lot of good things. I'm happy about it.
Still kind of the same thing. Like, it's built up to be a IDE for many different languages to enable people to use NeoVim for coding. And it too just did not feel right for my level of expertise, which is not a very high level at all. Both of those, NVChad and LunarVim, felt like they would be fantastic for people who knew what the hell they were doing. But for me, who is very much a noob, it felt overwhelming. There was too many features, too many plugins. So whereas my own configuration file felt very incomplete and kind of patched together, very patchwork, and it felt like it was missing things and things didn't really go together, and I had no clue how to piece things together like I was supposed to in order to get Vim to work the way it was supposed to in order to actually make it work well as an IDE.
That's a really interesting observation. I know, like, this is where Kickstarter, I think, really, really makes a lot of sense. Like, hey, if you're listening to this, the Linux Cast, if you're listening to this, I really think Kickstarter could be super cool to look at. Kickstarter's by TJ, or not by TJ. TJ's contributed to it. I forget who it's by. Let's see. Kickstarter. Yeah, NV Kickstarter. I forget who started it, whatever it is. But this thing is just, like, awesome, right? It's just a great experience. And all it is it's one single file to help you understand how to write a NeoVim, a NeoVim init file and make it completely your own. So instead of being like a LunarVim or an NVChad where you get the whole kitchen sink, you get a bajillion plugins, you get everything all at once, and now you're just trying to figure out everything at once. Instead, it just is like, okay, let's just do a couple things, and you can kind of go from there and figure out what you want. And for me, this is really, 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 really exciting. I just really like that. I'm not, okay, Judo says, I'm not exactly a Linux amateur, but I will say that configuring NeoVim the first time around for a setup that's actually productive is kind of a journey. It is. It's a fair statement. That's a very fair statement, and I think you forget what it is. Someone's commenting on 500 lines. Remember, seems overwhelming as a beginner. Yeah, but look at how much of it is just comments, right? There's a lot of comments in here, you know, and there's an explanation almost on every single line, right? So it's actually pretty useful. It's pretty exciting. I really like Kickstarter. I think it's a really great attempt at making things more consumable.
On the NVim or the NVChad and the LunarVim side, it just felt like there's way too much stuff there. And this is going to be a very bad comparison. It felt like Emacs to me. Emacs has a lot of features that I don't ever need, and therefore it feels like I am overwhelmed with.
If I'm not mistaken, Chris Atmachine even has some remaps that are similar-esque to enums. I still have some enum holdbacks, right? So when I'm here and I want to open up all files, leader F or leader PF project file, that's just straight up Doom Max, right? It's just like it's kind of stuck in my head with Emacs. You know what I mean? Did I say enum? Whatever. Okay, same thing. Okay, same thing. Emacs, enum, same thing.
All those features, right? It's not something that I feel comfortable with, and that's kind of what NVChad and LunarVim felt like to me. So I've been struggling with this now for probably 3 or 4 months, basically. I've been going back and forth between different configuration files, other people's and my own. I've been basically using my own recently, mostly because I've basically abandoned the idea of creating my own NVim config for an IDE experience. I've just been using it as is with a few of my previously used plugins. So I've been struggling with this for a while. And what I realized is that, unfortunately, as much as I like Vim, Vim is not going to be the tool that I need to use if I'm going to continue to code as much as I have been recently. And that saddened me quite a bit because, like I said, I am a Vim fanboy. I have been for at least 6 years now. I've been talking about Vim constantly on this channel. I know Vim in and out. I know a lot of Vim script. You know, I've put a lot of effort into my configuration file, both adding and subtracting things, trying to get to feel right. And as much effort as I put into it, because I love Vim and I want to stay with it, I just can't get it there yet. Maybe someday I can when I have more experience with what I'm doing, when I understand the tools that go into actually being useful for this type of thing. Maybe.
He is heartbroken right now, and I get that. You know, like I remember when I switched off of NetBeans, I was a little sad. You know, there is something, you know, you develop a bond with the things you use. You know what I mean? That's why that's the reason why all arguments in programming are stupid and useless. Tabs versus spaces, 4, 2, 8, Vim, NeoVim, Emacs, VS Code, like they're all actually kind of stupid arguments. It's that we just develop these weird bonds with things. And then there's also people that use Sublime, we can all agree they're strange, right? They're just weird. They're just weirdos. You know what I mean? But they're like Atom users. Like what?
Maybe then I'll be able to come back to Vim, but right now I can't. So I am leaving Vim. That's basically the whole point of this video. I'm not going to be using Vim for coding or writing going forward. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to go uninstall NeoVim and never use it again. If I need to do a quick edit in a configuration file, NeoVim makes more sense than opening up a graphical text editor. It just does. But if I'm going to sit down for some coding when I'm going through some of my classes, when it comes to actually, you know, learning how to do Python or HTML or CSS or any of the
Hey, good job. Taking some classes. All right. Getting strong. Well done. Well done. You know, it takes some time. I know VS Code is coming. We can feel it.
The things that I'm learning at the moment, I'm going to be opening up a graphical text editor or an IDE in this case.
He's struggling saying I don't think he can say the word VS Code. Are you seeing this? Like you could see the shame currently in his face with saying it, right? Like he's just like, it's a graphical text editor, right? You could just feel it coming out of him. He's struggling, right?
And the one that I've chosen is one that I've made a video about before, and that is Kate. Now,
I didn't see that one coming. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't see that one coming. This was a plot twist. I think we could all agree. None of us were ready for this moment, but we got to do it all together at the same time. What a great turnaround. Okay. Why Kate? I've never used Kate. I honestly don't even know what Kate is.
I've chosen Kate for 2 reasons. One, it's really good, and it has all the features that I need. It has the LSP client integration stuff that I need and stuff like that, even though I'm still very much learning what all that stuff is and how to use it.
I don't know.
It has all of the necessary tools that I need in order to learn without feeling...
You knew? Okay, no way. first off, talking to a person named Ligma Teetsoff just feels weird for me, okay? I just want you to know that. But second off, how did you know? Did you pre-watch this video? Did you pre-watch this video? Ligma Teetsoff? Is Ligma Teetsoff, is that saying lick my teats off? Or is it a lick my teats off? Like several people trying to race to see who can lick my teats better. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely like two different interpretations we can go here. You know what I mean? It's a good question. It's 200 IQ going on right here. K develop is a KDE IDE. Kate is just an editor. Okay. David Tietzelhoff. Yeah. It's really deep, man. Wow.
Completely overwhelming. Now, it is a KDE project, so it has a ton of options, but I've been able to ignore those, so it's not horrible in that regard. Also, it works really, really well, so it handles large files, so I can also use this for my writing, which is good. And the second reason that I chose it was because it's open source. So I know a lot of people who are developers choose to use a tool called VS Code. It's from Microsoft. It is proprietary. Now, there is a fork of that, I believe, or something like that called VS Codium. I'm not exactly sure the relationship between VS Codium and VS Code. I've downloaded it. I tried it. I didn't really care for it all that much. It just felt too proprietary, even though VS Codium is open source.
The man lives the FOSS lifestyle. I love this. I actually love this take that he is willing to use. He wants that FOSS lifestyle, right? It felt too proprietary. Absolutely love that. Like, I actually don't have necessarily a problem with proprietary. I do like IntelliJ, but I love that take. I
know that's weird for something to feel proprietary, but it still did. So I decided not to use that and decided to use Kate. It works well for my workflow, even though it doesn't seem to let me set a theme and let it stay there for whatever reason. I'm not sure why that's happening. But the point is that I've chosen Kate. It works really well for all the things that I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of bash scripting. I've been doing Python, HTML, and all that stuff.
I always feel bad seeing a lot of bash scripting, right? When I see when I see too much bash scripting, I just start feeling bad on the inside. You know what I mean? But I have a phrase, and I think it's the right phrase, which is a little bit of bash goes a long way. Did I comment on Ricer.shnet? No. I've noticed this. I've chosen not to say anything. A little bit of bash goes a long way. Sorry, bad cop. A lot of bit of bash is a bad decision. A little bit of bash, good decision. I'll give you a good example right here. I made a little test script, right? Here. Look at that beautiful test script, okay? It runs all different servers with different configurations, doing plow testing against each server, and it does a whole bunch of combinations. A little bit of bash saved me a lot of time. I can set it and walk away. Little bit, very nice. Lot of bit, no bueno. No bueno, right? No bueno. Little bit of bash, good.
And it just works fantastic, and it fits the workflow for my current experience level. Now, whether it will continue to do so as I get better at coding, I don't know. It's possible that as I learn more, I'll outgrow this tool. That's possible, in which case I'll go find something different. Maybe then VS Code will make more sense to me, I don't know, or VS Codium, whatever it happens to be. I'll make that decision in the future. As of right now, this has been perfect for my workflow, both for writing and for coding. And
by the way, he uses i3 based.
It's good. Now, I have not been showing very many of my scripts that I've been writing in my classes on the channel. I've been doing that for a reason because, guys, seriously, my beginning Python is atrocious. I don't want to show it to anybody. It's embarrassing. It's really, really bad. So I don't show that. What you guys just saw on screen was a bash script, and even that is not very good. So I'm still very much a noob, which is kind of the whole point of all this stuff. I'm still kind of learning what the best tool is for me and my use case and all that stuff. So as of right now, Kate is where I'm focusing my energy. I'm learning it pretty good, and it's just kind of worked fairly well for me when it comes to what I need to do. So I'm leaving Vim behind. Now, it's a kind of a sad day for me because I really liked Vim. I will proselytize Vim, if that's the right word. I don't even know. It's been a very long day. And Vim is just a fantastic tool. And I still, here's another reason why I chose K. I forgot. It also has Vim Motions. So it has Vim Motions built in. Okay, and while I know that you can get a plugin to get Vim Motions and Vim stuff inside of VS Code, it's built right into Kate. And that's fantastic. I think that is a necessity, like I said at the beginning. So that's another reason. So I just remembered that. I wanted to throw that in there.
It is a long day. If I chose to leave NeoVim, there's part of me that would die.
Emacs has the same problem for me that NVChad and LunarVim have. It has a ton of features, and they're all in your face immediately upon actually using it for the first time. And you have to almost immediately know how to configure it if you want to change it even just the littlest bit. So if, for example, with Emacs and with Vim, if you want to change a key binding, you have to know how to do that inside of the configuration file. If I want to know how to do that in Kate, it's simple as going to a drop-down menu and going to the options to do so. It's really that simple. And while I went through the pain of learning how to change key bindings and stuff inside of Vim, I went through that journey of learning Vim. I don't want to do that with Emacs. I really have no interest in learning Lisp. I'm already learning like 4 other languages all at the same time, although I have more experience with HTML.
I agree with the Lisp thing. Lisp is kind of like learning its own adventure. Like Lisp is an island unto itself. And so I feel like learning Lisp that would be an experience for me to do. You know what I mean? I know, I get it. People love Lisp, but it is in itself its own island. Whereas like if you learn C, you're kind of already good at Python or at JavaScript. Parasocial says GUI is better than config. I don't think so. I think you're nuts. Okay, I genuinely do. Saying that is just crazy because we all know that when you do a GUI, all you get is just one gigantic. It's like trying to visualize all the options. That's why VS Code sucks so much to customize. It does suck to customize. You have to look up every single option. It takes a long time. I would argue making a good VS Code experience that makes it to what you want, my phone needs to shut up, is no different than trying to learn how to do VS Code. It's like the same thing.
HTML and CSS, so it's more relearning in that aspect, but that's beside the point. I just don't have any interest in learning another language at the moment. And I've tried Emacs in the past, and every time I do, I just come out feeling overwhelmed and disinterested, I should say.
Yeah.
So
bad take. Have you tried adding one? Oh, you want to do a configuration that takes in a function, checks a couple values, and then does something? Good luck. Yeah, good luck with your little VS Code JSON. That's going to go well. That's definitely not going to suck. It's great if all you do is put in values. But the moment you want to do something custom, the moment you want to add one, the moment you want to check for anything, it becomes excessively difficult. BS is what I'm calling.
That is the reason why I've not chosen Emacs. Kate is the one that I've chosen for now. We'll see where this journey kind of takes me. And hopefully I'll get good enough at coding that I won't be so embarrassed by it, and I'll be able to share some of that stuff with you guys in the future. We'll see. As is right now,
I like that he's embarrassed about his coding. I think that's
do
good.
some things. I'm beyond Hello World, which is, I think, an accomplishment for me, but it's still very early days, even though it's been months. So that's in the future. That's it for this video.
I actually really like his mentality on some of these things. The idea that that it does take a while to get good at anything. It does take some time. It does take some effort. And to just like start programming and expect yourself to be good is crazy, right? Like I really like that mentality that he's like, it's early days. I know it's been a couple months, but it's still very early days, just past Hello World. Very, very true. Very, very good take on that, which is that if you're in it to learn it, it is most certainly a 10-year thing. It's not a 10-month thing. And I think people confuse that. They go to a React bootcamp, they listen to a couple YouTube videos, and they call themselves something fantastic. 10 months ain't it. 10 years is a much better way to kind of gauge yourself than 10 months. Yeah, he's great. This is great. I love this.
If you have any thoughts on this, you can leave those in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. If you could be so kind as to leave a thumbs up on this video, I'd really appreciate it. It really does help the channel. You can follow me on Mastodon or Odyssey. Those links will be in the video description. You can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/LinuxCast. If you're interested in supporting the channel through the merchandise store, we now have a store. You can find that at shop.thelinuxcast.org. There you'll find t-shirts and mugs and hats and all that stuff.
Look at that.
It's a great way to support the channel and get something actually in return. So thanks everybody who has done that and will do that in the future. I really do appreciate it as well. Thanks to everybody who does support me on Patreon and YouTube. You guys are all absolutely amazing. Without you, the channel just would not be anywhere near where it is right now. So thank you so very, very much for your support.
Thank you, pseudo-level, VIP-level directors, executive producers.
Thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you next time. Also, still can't say the word everybody, but I'm losing my voice for some reason. Anyways, again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Let's go, P.P. Taylor! Why don't you turn on VSync? I've done all these things, okay? Hey. Great video, thumbs up, hitting with that subscribe. This was good though. This was genuinely good. I think there's a lot of good things you can take from this video that I think are really just healthy overall in life, which is that Your journey is long. You do not need to get to the end right away. Right? I think that's really good. I really like that. B, I think I just forget how hard it really is to learn Vim and the config and all that. And I mean, just like Judo said, you're definitely no novice when it comes to Linux. Yet your first time going through a NeoVim config, it's a pain in the ass, and I get that. And then third, I did not know about Kate. I've never tried Kate. Kate could be an interesting thing for people that want graphical experiences but don't want Microsoft. That's pretty cool, right? Anyways, I like that guy. That was good. I really like this video. The name. I'm not going to leave NeoVim. I love NeoVim, okay? I'm sticking with NeoVim, okay? But hey, he left it again.